So if you're looking for new speed boots, you have like a metric ton of good options out there. And while it is easy to just go for one of the boots that everyone knows, I do also feel that there are quite a lot of speed boots out there that are almost grossly underrated and should get more love because they deserve it. That also means that in today's video, I'm not gonna talk about the big three. The boots that everyone knows and kinda rate. You know, the Mercurials, the F50s, and the Ultra, but also actually the Mizuno boots, the Morelia Neo, but especially also the Alpha, which I feel lately at least has gotten the wide mainstream attention and especially respect that it deserves. But thankfully, the rest of the stuff is good too, so let's talk about it. And we can start with a boot that feels like it's been around forever as the kind of constant dark horse alternative to the rest of the boots out there. It's the Lotto Solista 208, which is 150 euros, but don't let that fool you into thinking that this is like a B-tier speed boot, because that might not necessarily be true. What you're dealing with here is a fully one-piece knitted upper. It's very soft, but it also gives you this really tight, very sleek sensation. It's a snug fit, it has a little bit of like a plush foam liner on the inside, which means that while it does get you this very sock-like fit that's really close to your foot, it also is soft enough to mold very well and give you that really, slightly padded sensation around your foot. So I would say that it's tight, but comfortable too. And combining that with the really low toe box here, I can't think of any other boot that feels as tiptoey and ballet dancer shoe-like as the Solista. Now, it is a knit upper, which also means that, there's not much structure. But with that said, the snugness means that the feeling of lockdown and lock-in the heel is decent. And for me, good enough. The outsole is... It's also all right. It's nice and light, pretty stiff, but the conical studs also means that it's not up there in terms of responsiveness. But easy to put on, very comfortable, tiptoey and light. And for 150 euros, I reckon it deserves to be looked at. And then there is the Under Armour Shadow Elite 3, which also comes with a knit upper. Under Armour call it IntelliKnit, which too has a rib texture on it as well, at least on the main colorway. And I don't think it's unfair to think Nike Flyknit Ultra here, just way softer and a lot less gritty. Now the Pitch Viper colorway doesn't have the ribs, but a slightly more, flat, almost animal texture-like feeling to it, but it's still very, very soft. And that also means, and what I really like about the Shadow Elite is that when you put your foot inside the boot, it just feels, I would say, almost cozy, because the upper is very nice and soft. We're venturing into slipper-like territory here. It has a little bit of like this padded feeling on the inside, and it just fits. So it has a good enough combination, a nice balance between feeling relatively locked in and performance-oriented and just mega comfortable. My only personal gripe with this, and it is very personal, is that for me, there's just a little bit too much dead space and volume on the toe box here, meaning that the boot in this area can feel a little bit disconnected. With that said though, if your foot fits inside the boot and actually fills it out, it might easily be higher up the list for you, because it just works. It's super soft, very comfortable, and this outsole is it's snappy, responsive. I love the stop pattern, it's efficient, and if it fits you, it's a very good speed boot. Especially if you like the slipper on top, race car feeling on the bottom. Lots to like. But personally, I like the New Balance Furon V8 Elite just a little bit more. A, because for me, the shape is better and feels more nimble and speed boot-like, but B, also because of the Hypo Knit upper, which is just so soft that it's kind of ridiculous. And this has to be the most pliable, softest knitted upper I can think of on any boot on the market. You don't really need to break it in. You just put your foot in the boot and it just fits like a sock. Like that, which is really nice. It's super thin and it just, hugs your foot. Every little, bump, and it just hugs your foot, meaning that you get very close to the ball. It's not the most textured thing in the world, but it's just a really close connection. I would say that because the full upper is just knit, the lockdown in the midfoot it's okay, but it gets a lot of help from the heel, which locks your foot nicely and effectively in place without ever feeling uncomfortable. I really like the shape of the heel here, and it does a lot of good things for the boot overall. I also really like the outsole. It's nice and snappy, really responsive, and this stud shape, where you have these little T-shaped studs, they just dig in and they bite no matter which direction you push off in. Good stability in the midfoot, and if you play on a pitch that is good enough, soft enough, that this little speed control stud can actually adequately penetrate the ground, I also feel just a little bit more working when I put my foot down to brake and change direction. It's not a game changer per se, but it's just nice to have a little bit of extra, connection with the ground. Personally, I like that. I will say that also, personally, I would have enjoyed a little bit more structure in the midfoot to give that sensation of added lockdown. But if you are into knitted boots, this is seriously, almost stupidly comfortable. It's very light, really responsive, and it just fits. So if that's your jam, this should be your jam. But I had a... Wait, I'm missing a light, aren't I? These guys are playing tricks on me, I swear. But anyways, what I wanted to say was that, there we go. I had a bit of a choice to make for second place, and it was a really tough choice because I really like the Furon V8s. But to me, the Skechers Razor 1.5 is just more of what I really look for in a speed boot. So it really has this very, very soft Taitian upper on the forefoot. And then while the midfoot is also a textile base, it just has a little bit more structure. And combining that with the central lacing that is also a lot deeper than what you see on the Furon, I just feel that you get a slightly more structured feel in the midfoot, which also means that the lockdown and the lock-in in the heel feels ever so slightly more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but more potent. It's just a little bit better in terms of locking my foot in place. And when you combine that with the very thin, but also really, really soft Taitian forefoot here, and the shape, which is a little bit more anatomical, so slightly wider and more accommodating for the actual foot shape, you'd think it feels a little bit chunky and clumsy, but actually it just feels nice and natural and honestly very, very comfortable. Again, heel shape is good. I like the outsole. It's not as snappy as what you find on the Furons, but it's good enough. Stiff midfoot, nice snap in the forefoot with this forefoot plate here, and the studs, the chevron studs on the FG version is really nice too. And it's just, it just works. It has vibes of a modern interpretation of the Vapor 10 and the Vapor 14 all in one. And I'm here for it. For 225 euros, that is underrated, especially if you have a wide foot. Both of these are great for wide feet, but you decide. But it's more like OG traditional speed boot this for me. But to me, the king of underrated speed boots has to be the Sakito Scudetta. And I know that I have talked a lot about it, but I still feel that more people deserve to try it and should probably consider looking at it at least, because whether you want to call it the reincarnation of the 2014 F50 Adizero or not, which was one of my favorite speed boots ever, by the way, this just does a lot of things right. It's really sleek, has this very streamlined sensation, and the upper material in the toe box is fantastic. It's called BioTouch, and it's just really, really soft and fits extremely well with a very sharp touch on the ball. The midfoot is pretty good, especially because you have this classic U-throw tongue construction that allows you to adjust the tightness of your boot really, really well. So if you want it a little bit more loose, you can do that. And if you want it tighter and a little bit more snug and locking your foot down on the plate, you can get that too. Plus, the heel, I think, is great. It has a really good, very comfortable shape, and then it kind of is a little bit more snug on the top, which means that it pinches your foot and heel in that very pivotal area right there, just locking it securely in place without feeling uncomfortable. The outsole, very good too. Pretty snappy, has a pretty, I would say, aggressive stop pattern is what it's called. And while I would have enjoyed the studs to be a little bit more angled to really bite when you push off in a linear motion, it more than does the job. Nice and light, and I reckon that for 200 euros, it just has that X factor of feeling like you're sliding back into a race car seat, ready to lock in. If you're looking for a speed boot, seriously, consider this at least. To me, it is the best speed boot on the market, except for the Mizuno Alpha 2 Japan. So there you have what I think at least are 5 grossly underrated speed boots that deserve more love and attention that you should at least consider next time you're buying new speed boots. Of course, with that said, the Mercurials, they're still amazing. The F50s, especially the Messis, and the Ultras are just, they're just wild. And of course, we shouldn't forget, if you want like the peak of speed boots, the Mizuno Alpha 2 Japan are some of the most responsive, locked in, and some of the best fitting speed boots I have tried in the last 15 years. So consider those too. Or the elites that are 210 euros. But that's a whole other thing. Have I forgotten any underrated speed boots? Well, if so, let me know in the comment section right down below. Remember that if you want any of these, you can buy them in the link to Unisport right over there. If you leave a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. And also, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that before I bounce, and you can watch some more videos if you want down there. With that, I'll be signing off. Cheerio.